so that we can play it back later for anyone that wants to re-listen to the content. So April 1st, right around the corner, cannot believe it. So what's going to happen on April 1st? Well, it's a pretty significant milestone in the integration of our two companies. On April 1st, ADT and P1 will officially become a single legal entity. So the merger from a legal standpoint will be completed. At that point in time, we will move into a single field organization. So no more P1 and ADT will combine into a single organization. All of kind of the back end yet incredibly important processes that support functions like HR, payroll, supply chain, all of the finance functionality will all move into the ADT Oracle environment. And so you can imagine that's a pretty big undertaking. So a lot of heavy lifting is happening kind of under the covers, so to speak, to make sure that all of the support functions continue come April 1st. So it's a pretty significant effort. So my recommendation is if you see an IT person walking around, especially if they kind of look bleary-eyed, give them a pat on the back and tell them to hang in there. From our perspective, come April 1st, the really important thing is that the P1 and ADT commercial sales teams will join forces and become a single team. At that point, the reporting structure, commercial, will now move into the area general manager setup. And so I'm sure that everyone saw Ken Popora's announcement earlier this week of the GMs that will be in place come, actually they've moved into their new roles effective immediately, and they will be managing the branches to which you will be reporting into come April 1st. As part of that, as we join hands with our P1 counterparts, we will be migrating the ADT commercial sales activity for new customers off of the CEC and onto P1 tools and P1 processes. And so the key there, and in caps you see the word new, because for a period of time, and right now the target time frame is July, so between April and hopefully July, any sales that you are making to existing ADT customers will need to continue to be processed through the CEC. But that'll be a small portion of the work that you do on a monthly basis. So CEC will not go away completely until hopefully July. In advance of that migration, we'll give you lots of information to make sure that that transition is a smooth one. But for now, we're going to focus our attention on managing sales activity to new customers. Additionally, come April 1st, all of the commissions will be paid through the Calidus process. So that's pretty exciting given the fact that with Calidus comes your visibility on a somewhat real-time basis for the commission calculation, so that if there is something that needs to be questioned, you'll see it in advance of actually receiving your commission check with the statement. So more real-time access to commission details through Calidus. So that's pretty exciting. So today, for the next couple of hours, we're going to focus our attention strictly on the part of April 1st that has to do with moving into the P1 sales tools and the processes supported by those tools. So specifically, we're going to be getting a deep dive into the tool that you will be using called Sales Pilot. So Sales Pilot is a web-based application. As I mentioned, it's where you'll do all of your new sales activity. Sales Pilot is integrated with P1's Mastermind system so that as you are performing functions, so you're making sales, those sales will be processed in the P1 Mastermind system, and then you'll have access to that customer data within Sales Pilot. Additionally, in Sales Pilot is where you'll receive information on your company-generated sales appointments. So rather than you going to Salesforce to find your appointment details, you'll be working in Sales Pilot. In Sales Pilot is where you'll create all of your proposals, you'll generate sales agreements, you will be processing contracts for new customers via electronic contracts. And the cool thing about Sales Pilot is it really and truly automatically supports all of the P1 business processes that are in place. So come April 1st, we have common business processes, and they will all be enforced through the automated process within Sales Pilot. So some of those processes include automated approvals. So today, when you have to go get a BOM or get your territory manager and get your ASM and potentially get Camille, all of that will be managed through automated workflow that is set within Sales Pilot. So based on the business rules, if the agreement that you are working on requires an approval, it will automatically be routed to the individual within the approval hierarchy. Most of those approvals will happen at the local level. Most of them are approved either by the installation manager within your branch and or the GM. If it needs to go above the GM, it's automatically routed to the appropriate level of authorization. So there are some areas where, like fire, will still continue to require that someone review and sign off on any fire jobs that you're working on, as well as things like reduced contract terms, and especially non-standard terms and conditions. They will still need approval by the appropriate individual, like a non-standard terms and conditions. Just like today, it will be, you'll review it with your general manager and go to legal for assistance. Embedded within Sales Pilot is an automated credit check process. And so we'll take a view into that, and then we'll provide more detail following, like here in the next week or so. But basically, again, based on the logic, the business rules that are in place, if you are selling to a customer, Sales Pilot will determine whether or not the customer needs to be subjected to a credit review. The agreement and the customer information is routed to the credit department that is located in Wichita. They will run credit on the customer, and then Sales Pilot will tell you whether the customer passes credit and you are free to proceed, or if there's some additional things that need to happen before that customer can actually proceed into an order. And the good thing is, while we'll give you the information, you don't really need to worry too much about it, because Sales Pilot's going to do it's going to remember the business rules, and it's going to process based on those rules. Additionally, within Sales Pilot, you'll see automated payment processing. So I know it really will pain you to no longer have to send encrypted emails to the JFSC to process payments. But come April 1st, you'll be able to specify not just the dollar amount of the deposit, but also the payment method for deposits, the install charges, as well as recurring charges. It'll validate that the payment method is accurate, and then we'll do at the point in time in the order process that the payment should be processed, it will be automatically processed. So no more encrypted emails. No, that breaks your heart. But additionally, Order entry from Sales Pilot is an automated process. So you won't have to scan paperwork unless you sign a paper contract, and then that will have to be scanned. But everything else is automatically, upon execution of the contract signature, is automatically routed to a group in Wichita. They're called the Account Creation Team. And they go through a series of quality control checks just to make sure that what was on the agreement is what was signed by the customer. And once that passes quality control, then they literally hit a button in Sales Pilot, and the process, which is called integrate, will occur. And what that does is it automatically creates the customer site and job record based on the details within the agreement. Now, if something happens during quality control and you don't pass quality control, instead of integrating a record and then cleaning it up later, the account creation team will return that to the branch, return it to you for update and then resubmission. So all an automated process. Somebody made the comment yesterday that they're going to have to figure out what to do with 2/3 of their day, since that's how much time it felt like they were spending scanning paper to get something completed by order entry. So this should be a pretty exciting and really much more efficient way of processing orders. In addition, within Sales Pilot, you will see real-time calculation of your commission. So the commission will display on the screen. It's a great way to see how, if you are making adjustments to the pricing or the setup for the customer, what the impact to your commission is. So you'll see it real time in Sales Pilot. Additionally, you have the ability to split commission with one of your coworkers. So today, you specify that on the paperwork, and Alba makes sure that the commission gets split properly. Now that will be in your hands. So if Tracy wants to split commission with Milan, I would be able to do that in Sales Pilot, and Milan and I could negotiate what our commission split is. As long as it doesn't exceed 100%, we could do 50-50, 60-40, 20-10, whatever. It's totally in your hands. Then the data from Sales Pilot is fed into Calidus once the job is created, in order to have Calidus calculate and process the commission payment. And again, you'll be able to see your commission details within Calidus. It is fed on a nightly basis, and you'll get more details on Calidus, since that's new to us in the next few days, I believe. Additionally, within one of the business processes within P1 that differs a little from ADT is the third-party finance vendor is different. So you still have access to third-party financing. You still have access to the kicker that the current third-party finance vendor provides. The difference is that kicker will be paid directly by the vendor, not submitted to ADT for processing as part of your commission payment. And at the time that the job closes, if it is a finance job, then the customer's account is automatically credited with a payment. And then if there's an issue, then we work with the finance vendor to get that issue resolved. So many of you have felt the pain of getting an AR report with somebody who is severely past due in a finance situation, only to find out that there was some kind of an issue. So we'll still have visibility to those issues. The difference is the customer doesn't get stuck in the middle. So that'll be a big customer experience improvement. So that's a kind of a snapshot of what we're going to see today. So I want to introduce Lauren Fleetwood, who has joined us today, and she's been amazing. Lauren is, her official title is Director of Business Applications within the P1 environment, but you will quickly realize that Lauren is really the queen of all things Sales Pilot related. She knows Sales Pilot like the back of her hand, and anything, she's going to walk us through a detailed demonstration of Sales Pilot. Please, if there is something that you need more information on or you're just not clear, ask your question. Lauren is more than happy to stop to take herself off of her script and answer any questions that you have. This is super important. As you can imagine, you're going to be doing all your sales activities here in a few weeks. So let's make sure that we take the advantage of the time that we have together today. Make sure that you ask questions of Lauren. I do want to thank Lauren. Talk about sounding like a broken record. So imagine the poor thing she's done. This is now the third session where she has repeated the same information, which is not always easy to do. But if I hadn't just ratted her out, you wouldn't have known that this was number 3. So she's a champ, and she's going to walk us through. So everybody make sure that you ask questions. And Lauren, there you go. Perfect.
Thank you, Tracy.
Got it? You're welcome. I can see.
All right. Okay. Good morning, everyone. When you log into Sales Pilot for the first time, you're going to have a blank dashboard. And as you start to add more agreements, your dashboard will have a table grid with many different columns. And each dashboard is unique to each user. Therefore, you can add and hide columns as well as rearrange them to your preference. You can also use these columns to sort and filter any way you would like. So depending on the status of the agreements, on the left there will be status buckets. So for example, if you have active agreements, there will be a bucket for just the active status. As the agreements go through different statuses, different buckets will appear. And if you don't have any agreements in a particular status, that bucket will be hidden. Each agreement has a unique sales agreement ID number. An agreement can consist of a customer with one or multiple sites and one or multiple designs. And each agreement will be one contract that can create one or several jobs within Mastermind. And this is the number you refer to when needing support or review on a design or for quick searching. There are several ways to search for an agreement. Besides the table grid, you can use this search at the top. So you can search by the sales agreement ID or these other options. And we also have a simple or an advanced search as well. So if you toggle the simple button to advanced, there's more options to search. Other items on the left over for the buckets, if you are in an approval level, you'll have an approval bucket. So for example, the credit department has an approval bucket. Is somebody asking a question?
So, hey guys, we are not on mute, so if you are in a location where there's background noise, if you could mute yourself, that would be awesome. I don't want to mute you in case you want to ask a question. Okay, thanks.
Tracy, I thought I'd heard my name. So if you're in approval level, you have different buckets as well. So for example, the credit department has their own queue where they can come in and hit approve or deny from the dashboard. And then if you're a manager, you'll have the same thing as well. You'll also get an email. So when something gets sent for approval, you'll get an email with all the job costing information. So if you don't need to review in any more detail, you can actually approve or deny it directly from your dashboard. Otherwise, if you need to go into more detail, you can go right into the agreement and review it, and there's another button from within the agreement to approve. There also is a review option, so you can set up default reviewers, and I'll show you how to do that in a minute. So if you need somebody to always review your agreements or to assist you with them, you can set them up as a default reviewer, and so every time you create a brand new agreement, it will go into the review bucket. And then same with the lost, you can mark any of the agreements as lost, and if you ever need to reactivate them again, you just click the activate button and it will move it back to your active filter. Over to the right, next to your name, there's a little drop-down arrow, and this is where you go to manage default templates, default reviewers, and default values. So I'll start with default templates. You can create templates based on any of the agreements, and once you've created them, they come into your template manager. So depending on your access, you may just have the employee templates. This means they are just available for you. So you can create as many templates as you want, and then you can come in here at any time and edit them or delete them. If you're a manager, you may have access to save templates to your whole branch, so that'll allow other reps to use the same template if needed. And then for regional presidents, they'll have access to do it for the whole region. Default reviewers, this is where you would go to add any reviewers if you want them to see every single agreement you create. You can add them here, and all you have to do is type in either their first or last name, and they will populate everybody in the database. All I have to do is click the person, and it will automatically add them. So now every time I create a new sale, it's going to put Tracy as a reviewer. And you can come in here at any time to remove them from any future ones. And then the last one is default values. So before you begin using Sales Pilot, you'd want to come in here and set your default values. So because you guys are all commercial reps, you're going to want to set your sales agreement type to be commercial. So every time you create a new sale, it defaults to be commercial. And then same with the rest of these. If you always do outright sales, or majority of the time you do outright sales other than leased, you can come in here and set them to default to outright. So you can come in here, play around. You can do any of the toggles, and you can always come back here and change if needed. We also have some options for proposals. So if you always want to show the statement of work, the labor, itemized pricing, you can set your proposals to always show that. When we get to the proposal tab, I can show you how to uncheck them and check them as well within an agreement. If we have tons of equipment in our system, if there is not a part and you need to add one, we have an option to request an additional part that will allow you to fill out a form, and it sends it to our parts department to get it added to the system. But we do have over 20,000 parts in here, so it's very rare that you can't find one. And then we have links to our forecast and funnel reports, and I will show you where you would go to add forecasting, and that would show up on these reports. And again, you can change your screen however you see fit. It's default, it will set just for you. You can click and drag and rearrange any of these columns, and you can hide and remove columns. Are there any questions on the actual dashboard before I start a new agreement? Okay, to start a new agreement, there are several ways. You can use an existing agreement. There's a plus sign here, and that will create a new agreement using the existing customer and blank sites. Or you can copy both the customer and all the existing sites from that agreement. Or you can create a brand new agreement by hitting the new sale button. So I'm going to create a brand new agreement. It's going to take me to the Customer tab. There are many tabs over on the left. You don't need to fill them all out. Sales Pilot has the logic in there, so if you do miss something that is required, when you go to submit it for approval, it will tell you what you have missed that's required and take you back to that screen. So you can skip around. You can go start creating your whole design first and then come back and do your customer and site information later. We just put it in a specific flow process that makes it a little bit easier for reps. So for the customer screen, your default values will determine your customer type, but you can change it if needed. Same with agreement type. If you need to change that, you can. And then each one of these fields is a searchable. So if you're looking to find an existing customer, you can use any one of these fields to search the database. So if I want to search all of the customers in a specific zip code, I can type in the zip code and it's going to pull the top 15 results in Mastermind. If I wanted to narrow it down, I can use company name or address to narrow it down even further. So everything in yellow is Mastermind. The one in magenta color is our zip default lookup, so it's going to automatically look at our zip table to find the city, state, and county. If there are multiple counties, it will pop up a list to choose from. So if I wanted to use any one of these existing customers, I can click on it and pull all that information over for me. I'm just going to go ahead and create a brand new agreement to start, or a brand new customer. And I can go through and skip around. I'll add the required fields. And as you can see, as I'm typing, it's still searching the database over to the right. So you can see now in blue, this is all of the results from the actual Sales Pilot database. So this is how many times I actually have used this customer on an agreement. So I can and pull down the information that I've missed if I did not want to continue filling it out. At this point, you do not need to go to credit. You can wait until you've created your design, because our credit policy looks to see if it's an existing customer or a new customer, and it also looks to see what the gross job cost is, and if it over a certain amount, it will tell you it needs to run credit. So if it does require credit, it will take you back to the screen, and there will be a button to send it to the credit department. If they do deny it because they cannot find this customer in the credit database, you have the option to then either put in a previous address, or you can also add a personal guarantee. So you would use a personal guarantee if they do deny with a low score, or if they cannot find the customer in the credit database. So when you do a personal guarantee, it will run it like a residential customer. So it will require you to run soft or hard credit. And it will also put that customer name as a DBA on the contract. Any questions on the customer tab? The next one is prospect information. So if this comes over as a prospect, we have a special prospect module option in our Mastermind. So if telesales gets a call, they can be assigned to reps, and it will come onto this section with different information from that call. If there's an appointment set, it will have the appointment date and time here. If it's not a prospect, you can use these fields to add appointment dates and times. If you need to change your lead source, there's different options under here. So if you're doing a self-gen, you can change that. And then down at the bottom, you can do your forecasting here. And anything you put on these two screens will show up on in the forecasting portal. Over to the right is the note section. This is for any auto-generated notes. So every time an agreement is created, it will date and time stamp it. Anytime you submit for approval, send a proposal to a customer, send a contract to a customer, send it to the credit department, it will put the note here. And anytime it is approved or denied, it will put a note as to who approved or denied it and any notes that they put. So you can always come back to this screen to see all the notes for this specific agreement. And you can also add notes as well. So if you hit the plus sign, it will allow you to pick some note types and add notes to the agreement. If you pick a specific note type like credit notes, any notes you put here will also show up on the credits queue. So when they go to approve or deny it, they will be able to see the note for anything credit related. The next section is site information. For a new customer, it's automatically going to default to the same customer address for the site. You can uncheck it and add any new information if it is different. You can use any one of these fields the same way as in the customer tab to search Mastermind. So if you're doing a new customer existing site, you can use the search options to find it in Mastermind. If it was an existing customer, it would automatically list all the existing sites to choose from as well. I'm just going to select Save as Customer for this one. Monitoring information, that we do require a master password subdivision and cross street for any burglar systems. If you are not offering burglar system, it does require you to put something in here. So you can use the word none. And the others are optional. But for a burglar system, it will be rejected if you do not have a password. Site type or site tax information. This is if the customer is tax exempt, you would want to fill out this information. Otherwise, you can skip it. An emergency contact. It does require you to create at least one. It will put in a phone number based on the number you put on the customer tab, and then all you do is put in station. If you need to add an additional contact, you can hit the plus sign and then add more contacts. And you can add as many emergency contacts as needed. If it's an existing customer, it will pull all over the existing contacts from Mastermind for you. And if you need to add additional sites, you can click the Add New Site button and it will create more sites for you. Any question on the site section? All right, the next one is design information. This is where you name your design. And this is handy if you're going to design, if you're going to quote more than one design. So if you're doing a burglar system and a camera system and you want to split it up between two different designs, you are going to want this design. I believe I just froze. You guys still hear me?
Yes, we can.
Just want to make sure I didn't lose my internet.
Yes, we can.
There you go. All right, so I'm going to name this camera system. I'm going to select the design type. And then depending on the customer type, there'll be different options under here. So if it was an existing customer, there may be different options. If I was doing a new customer existing site, there would be options like ownership change or new owner. So this is all logic based. If you know the estimated start and completion date, you can add those dates here, and those would show up on the installation packet. And this is also where you would come to see what the job number is and the job status in Mastermind once it's integrated. If you are doing a third-party sale, you can click this button, and it will note to the credit that it does not, it's third-party and does not need credit, and it would make it an outright sale. Equipment. So this is the tab you go to build your equipment design. All you do is select equipment. It's going to list all the equipment for you. You have several different options to search for the part. You can use manufacturer, model number, description of the part, or even the price. And you can use any one of these options to narrow it down. So if you don't know the model number, but you know by Clinton, you can type in the manufacturer Clinton, and it will pull up all the Clinton parts. And then you can narrow it down even further by the device description. Once you find the part you want, you just add the quantity. You can use the arrows up or down, or you can just type in the quantity you want. You can continue going through and finding different parts until you have all the parts you want. It will save it in the background. And then once you hit the add to design, it's going to add all the parts that you add quantities to. Now, if you did forget a part, all you do is hit select equipment, and then you can go back to that and add more parts. These are all grids just like the dashboard. So you have the options to add columns or high columns as well. If you're doing an access system and you're adding cards, you're going to need to add facility codes and start numbers. So it will tell you that you need to add those before you can continue. If you are adding wire, it will ask you to pick a ceiling type. There are several different columns to choose from. If you need to edit the description, you can change this to editable description, and then you can make the description whatever it needs to say. Each part automatically adds hours and pricing. You can change the pricing by line item, or you can wait until you have completed your whole design, and then when there's another section under the sales information tab, which I show you, where you can actually change the pricing per the total job or by the total gross margin. So there's several different ways to price out a design. Any questions on equipment? All right, next one is existing equipment, and this works the same way. If the customer has some existing equipment that you want to show on the contract that it's something that we are not providing, they already have, all you hit is select existing equipment and then find those parts. If you're doing a maintenance contract for an existing equipment, you can list all of their equipment we're not providing, they already have on site, and we're just providing a warranty contract for that. And the next one is labor services. So this is where you would go to add additional labor. It will show you how many hours are already on the agreement based on the parts you added. And if you need to add additional, you just hit add additional. Put in whatever description you want, and then however many hours you need. So if you need to add additional 10 hours, you can type that in, and it will automatically add them down here at the bottom. And you can add as many different lines as you want as well. So if you want to split up the labor between different items, you can do that as well. If you need to add a lift or a contractor, there's a separate section for that. All you do is hit add contractor, type in the contractor information, their hours, their cost. If you need to add any of the other information here, you can, and this will add it to the contract if you select yes or no. The next section is services, and this is where you do your recurring monitoring. The first category is the monitoring category, so you can go down and click any of the monitoring options needed. It automatically adds a retail amount. You can raise the amounts just by typing in. You can lower it based on specific floors we have. So if you do lower it, it will automatically adjust to whatever our floors do allow. Also, if you do lower it, it will lower your commission. So if you go below retail, it will change your commissions. But you can go as high as you want. Next one is extended service plan. This is where you would go to check off if you're doing a warranty. It's going to automatically calculate that warranty base low, but you can raise it if needed. And this is also where you would go to add any pre-existing equipment. So if you're doing a maintenance contract on equipment that they already have on site, you would add in the amounts here. And I'll go through these briefly. This is signaling is where you would go to add if you're doing a GSM or any other fire signaling. Inspections, if you're doing any fire system inspections, you can click on any one of these sections, put in your device counts, put in your frequency. Video, if you're doing any video systems, any cloud-based systems or NVRs, you can add the video services here. Reporting, this is where we have our eSuite options. And then our access systems. I believe you guys all use Brevo. We have all our Brevos down here at the bottom.
A quick question.
Okay.
On the equipment page, can you build up templates? For instance, if you're doing a fire alarm, you can click on the basic fire system and then populate what you need.
Yes, so I'll show you how to do a template. I think I just lost my mouse though. Can you still see my screen?
We can see your screen.
Yes, we can.
Yeah, sorry, I pushed the mute button.
My mouse just stopped working. I'm having technical difficulties. Not sure what's going on. There it goes. I had to move it to a different USB port.
Oh my. Okay, we see you moving now.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Hopefully that doesn't happen again. All right, so then the last one is the services total, and this just adds up all the categories for you. And then if you did raise or lower it, it will tell you the difference between the retail and the selling. Our next tab is sales information, and this is where you'll see all your job costing and commissions. Over to the right is also the same service charges, the retail and selling, and you can change the pricing from here. So you don't have to go back to each category. You can raise or lower it from here. Depending on your default values, you can change, you'll automatically default to whatever your default value is, but you can change it to a lease if needed. So if you switch the toggle from outright to lease, it will change your pricing here, and it will also add a lease fee. So you can change the prices here, or if you're doing an outright sale, you can change the price, or you can change the gross job. So if you wanted to make this a 35% gross job margin, it will automatically change the install charge based on that. Down at the bottom is where you'll see your commissions. And this is also where you'll put in your deposit. So if they're including the deposit, you can put that here. And that will automatically pull over to the payment section. Is there any questions on this? Okay. Theory of operation. This is where you would put your external scope of work. Theory of operation is in more depth if you want to how the system works. Or you can use it to state where you're going to put your parts and pieces, the location for the parts. We also have a separate section for external scope. So if you want to explain the system on the one and then explain where the parts are going on the other, you can split it out and it will show separately on the proposal. And then anything that you want the field to know about, there's an internal scope. So if you want to explain something to a technician, you can put that here and it will show up on the installation packet that goes out to the field. If you want to save this as a template, there's a little button up here, little box with an arrow. You can click Save as Template. It will open up your template manager, and it will ask you to pick where you want to save it. So if you want to save it just for you, you click the Employee Templates, you name it whatever you want, and it will go into your template manager. If you want to replace this design with a template, you can use the option here to replace current design with template. So it's the little icon right next to the box. If you want to create another design, you can use a template. So you can add job from template, and it will bring up your template manager to choose from, or you can create a brand new design. So if I just hit the plus sign, it's going to create a blank design. So you'll see I've already created, and then the second one, so all I would do is click on it, and I can name it whatever I want. So if I want to do a burglar system, name that, select the burglar type, and I can go through each tab just like I did before. And then once I have that design, I can click this little back button, and it's going to list both designs. And I can decide if I want to include both designs on the contract or not. From here, you can add even more designs. So if you want to do different costing options, say you want to show an outright design and a lease for the same equipment, there's an option to copy the design. And then you can go in and use the toggle button to change it to a leased option. And then you can select them both and include it on the proposal to show the customer. Now, it will not show both options on the contract because the contract will only allow to see either an outright or a lease. So this is more in the cases when you want to show different options on the proposal. So once the customer decides which option they want, you just uncheck the one they don't want, and then that will show it on the contract. So the options over here is to copy, replace current from template. You can delete it. You can add additional designs from a template or brand new. And you can have many designs. I've seen up to over 50 designs on one agreement before. Any questions on designs? Each one of these sections has a little folder icon, and that allows you to upload documents. So under the design option, this folder allows you to upload drawings, submittals, scope of works, any document that you want to keep handy with the agreement, you can upload here. So all you do is hit the add files. It opens up your local computer. You select the files you want and hit upload. It will upload them all to the top. And then anybody that has access to see your agreement can click on the file to download it to their machine. And each section has a folder icon. So under the site, it has site surveys. The next one is payments, and this is where you would go to add your payment methods. If it is an existing customer, it will pull over any active payment methods they have in Mastermind. Otherwise, you have the option to add a credit card or a bank account. I'm going to go ahead and add one, a fake one, just to show you how it works. It will validate that account, and then you just hit done. Once you hit done, you will not be able to see the number anymore as it creates a token, and same with credit card. So if you needed to, if you made a mistake, you have to delete it and then re-add it. Under upfront payment, this is where you would go to select how they're going to pay. So if you added a deposit under the sales information tab, it's going to pull that deposit over for you. You can add any advanced recurring payments if they want to pay anything up front. You can add any permit fees. If you click this button, it will estimate the taxes based on the customer state. If you want to include any shipping charges, you can add that here. It will automatically add everything up here, and then you can select how you want to pay. So if they want to pay by their payment method you can just type in the amount, and you can split it up. So if they pay by a bank account and a credit card, you can, and they want to split it between the two, you can do that. And same with check and purchase order. And then same payment. This sets it up in Mastermind, paid every month or quarter, however frequency they select. So you would select the payment method they want to be charged, and then you can select the frequency. So if they want to be automatically charged quarterly, you can change it to that. If they do not want to be charged, you just do not select the payment method, and then you can select how they want to be billed, statement or invoice. Questions on payments? Next one is the overview screen, and this is the default screen. If you come into an agreement later from your dashboard agreement that's already created, it will take you to this screen first. This is a full summary of the agreements. Each one of these sections is clickable. So if you see you forgot something, you forgot to add a contact, you just click on this section and it will take you back to that contact. If you need to add a second design, you can click on this and it will take you to the design section. So each one of these is clickable. Up at the top, this is where you go to change your contract length if needed. And then this is where you would remove your floors. So as I said earlier, we have floors on our services. If you need to go lower than what our floors allow, you can come to this screen and hit the remove button. And once you hit OK, it's going to add another approval level that requires somebody else to review and approve it. If you need to add a separate billing address for their invoices, you can click enter billing address here, and you can uncheck this and add the billing address. Otherwise, it will default to whatever the customer is. Sales team reviewers. This is the button where you would go if you need to split your agreement with another rep. All you do is at the top, find the person that you want to add, either by first or last name, select them, and then you can split it between commission and production. So if you wanted to split 50-50, you just type that in. If you want to make them primary, you just select the primary button, and then you can move yourself down as a reviewer, and then they would be the full commissioned rep. Down at the bottom, if you need to add a reviewer that's not part of your default reviewers, you can search for that employee and add them as a reviewer to just this specific agreement. And this is in the cases if you need an engineer to review your agreement with you, you can add them here. And then it would then show up in their review filter on their dashboard. This is also where you go to mark it as lost. So if you want to remove it from your active dashboard filter, you hit this mark as lost button and it will move it to the lost section. And if you're ready to submit for approval, you hit the submit for approval button, and this is when it's going to go through and check all your required fields, check the credits, and make sure that you haven't missed anything. If you have, it will tell you everything that you have missed, and it will allow you to click on it to take you back to that section to fill it out. So because this is a new customer and it's over a certain dollar amount, it's requiring you to either get a credit score or you have to pay 100% upfront and all the RMR upfront. So you have two options: either send it to the credit department or pay upfront. Once you fill out all of the information that it requests, it will validate and disappear, and then you'll be able to submit for approval. Once it is in pending approvals, I'll show you a pending approvals one. It will allow you to send the contract. It does not require anything to be approved. It just needs to be in pending approvals to see the contract. So for the contract, there's several different options. You still have the option under the options tab to email a link to the customer. If you are in front of the customer, you have the option to hit the Get Started button, and it will take you to the section to sign. Let me refresh this. So if you hit Get Started, it will take you down to the signature screen, and depending on your type of device, you can use a mouse if you have a laptop. If you have a touch screen, you can have the customer use a stylus or their finger, and all they do is sign. And I'm just using my mouse to do this. If your device is small, you can hit the full screen button, and it will pop up a bigger screen for them to sign. Once they sign, you hit Finish and Submit, and it will mark this contract as signed and pending approval. So once it's gone through the whole approval process, then it will mark the contract as sold, and the customer and the rep will get an email with the fully signed contract as a PDF. Otherwise, if you're not in front of the customer, under options, you can email it, and they'll get an email with a link to go sign the contract. And once they have signed it, it will show on the contract tab a little checkbox saying that it has been signed. If you want to do a physical copy, you can hit Alternative Actions and click version, and it will allow you to download a PDF. Any questions on the contract? And I skipped over proposal by mistake. So the proposal, you can send it anytime. It does not matter what status it is in. At the top, there are different options depending on how you want to show. You can click and unclick and regenerate as many as you want. Just hit the Generate Report. Now this will be co-branded for you in the test environment and COM4 on the live environment. So in my test environment, it's not co-branded yet. So you'll have a cover page, you'll have a cover letter, and then down at the bottom is where you'll see all the different designs. If you do more than one option, you'll have the lease and the outright options here. So from here, under the options, you have the ability to email the proposal. It will send an email as a PDF, or you can download it to Word if you need to edit it. If you want to add pictures or any other literature, you can download it and edit it. You can also save it as a PDF. So if you want to include it with your own email and different attachments, you can save it and download it to your local machine. Those are several different ways. And you can always come back and uncheck something. If you decide you don't want to show specific pricing, you can uncheck it and regenerate it. The Approvals tab, this is where you go to see who is waiting for approval, and as well as the different rules. So there's many different rules depending on the agreements. So as you go and add equipment and labor and services, you can come here and see if it added another rule. And you can always hit the refresh button to run the calculations to see if it added a separate rule. So if you added, or if you remove floors, it's going to add another approval level, whether it be RVP or CFO. It will show all that information here for you. Once it is sold, there is a post-sale document. So these are the documents that are used to go out to the field. Installation packet. And again, these will be co-branded on the test environment, so you will see EC logo. So this is the installation work packet. It has all the information that would be needed to go out to the field. And I won't go through each one, but this is also where you would go to get your deposit invoice. To give the customer a deposit invoice. So there's many different options here you can play around with. It does not need in sold status to get majority of these. I believe there is one that does require a job number, and I believe it will tell you a job number is associated with it to see it. Otherwise, you can see these at any time. And then the last one is the referrals tab. So if you are with a customer, you can ask them if they have any prospects that they want to refer. You can fill out this section here, and it will create a prospect. It will automatically add this comment to that prospect, so that if that prospect has bought a system, it will give them a credit for being referred. And you can add as many prospects as you want. And I believe I've gone through every tab, so if there's any questions, feel free to ask.
So anyone have any questions for Lauren?
Very quiet bunch.
It is.
Pretty clear.
I'm going to do an existing customer real quick just to show you. I won't go through all the designs. I just want to show you what screens it does show, or what it does pull from Mastermind, and how to do a rider. So for an existing customer, if I knew the number, I could type it in. You can use any one of these fields. I'm just going to use the address. And I like to explain that less is more, because you never know how it is added in Mastermind. So for example, this could be in there as Avenue or just Av. If I had typed in the word Avenue and it's in as Av, it's not going to find it. So always try and type in less and see if you can narrow it down that way. So all you do is click on any one of the options here. As long as there's a Mastermind number, it will pull over from Mastermind information. Then I can go to site information, and it's going to list at the top all of the existing sites for you, so you don't have to search for those. If you're doing an existing customer new site, you would just type in the new information. If they have many sites, it will list all the sites for you. So all you do is select the one you want, and it will pull down that information for you. Monitoring information, it will pull that information for you so you don't have to fill that in. And then say emergency contacts, it pulls all that for you. Then when you go to the job design information tab, it will list down at the bottom all of their active contracts. You can use the little magnifying glass. It will pop up all of their bill codes So you can see everything they've ever paid and the dates, the start and end dates. So you can see that they're about to be price increased, and this is what their new rate is going to be. If you want to do a rider on this contract, all you do is select that contract, and it will make that contract as a rider. If you want to replace the contract with a brand new one, you just change this toggle from no to yes, and it will automatically pull over all their existing RMR. Then when you go to the sales information tab, it will have a new column so you can existing to what you're selling. And then the last item that it pulls from Mastermind is the payment methods. So if they have any active payment methods on their account, it will pull that over. And everything else is the same as contract or new customer. Any questions on existing? All righty, then I guess it's back to you, Trace.
Hey, Lauren, this is Milan. I had a quick question.
Okay.
Just regarding this system and just from your past experience, is the system pretty smooth when it comes to from the operating perspective, or would you say it's kind of glitchy? Well, I guess I'm just trying to say, is it glitchy?
I mean, it can be just like any other website, depending on your internet service. I can go days without having to log back in sometimes. I mean, it times out on you. It will pop up saying, "Are you still there?" for security purposes. It's every 20 minutes, I believe. As long as you're not, as long as you're working on something, it thinks you're there. If you haven't done anything within 20 minutes, it will pop up. But other than just the standard bug issues, every once in a while when we do a new build, we try and do updates every 3 weeks. So the next day there may be some random bugs, but we get those done pretty quickly. So I don't usually see many issues or hear of them.
Got it. That's good to know. Also, the other question is regarding templates. I think you were going to walk us through potentially just how to build a template. Is that something we can still do, or did I miss that?
I believe you missed it. Okay. I can show you again. It's within the agreement when you go and build the design. Once you build the equipment and services and labor or anything else you want on the template, you use this little box icon.
Okay. Got it.
And you just click Save as Template, and then you can name it whatever you want. And then it goes in your template manager.
Makes sense. Thank you.
Sure.
Other questions for Lauren?
Is there any kind of sketch?
Sorry, Ryan?
Are there any kind of sketch abilities in this program?
Not yet. We do have that on our wish list.
So as far as getting approvals and say our designers need a sketch, do we just email that separately, or how does that work?
You can sketch it and save it and upload it to the folder. So any drawings that you've done, you can upload it in here.
Thank you.
So that really would be the preferred method to make sure that everybody has access to the information. So upload, drawing, and then choose the file to upload. So any other questions for Lauren? All right. Thank you, Lauren. Great. Let's talk about what's next. Okay. So here's what's going to happen next. So at the conclusion of this webinar, and with a little bit of time for me to process all these entries. You're going to receive 4 emails from me. You will receive an email with a link to the Sales Pilot User's Guide, and it really walks you through all of the information that Lauren just showed you, tab by tab, and provides detail around everything that can happen inside a particular tab. So it is a great source for you to have on hand when you're practicing. So you'll get the user's guide. Then you will get an email with directions on how to log into the test system. So if you don't get that login like right away, don't be alarmed. There's a little bit of an issue that IT is working through. So the data transfer to send login information so that you can use your ADT login to access Sales Pilot, not everybody was included in the most recent file. So some of you may not get a login immediately, but I promise you as soon as we get the issue resolved, then you'll get login information. Once you get that login information, you have an assignment, and that is to practice. So practice, practice, practice. You will get an email that will contain 5 scenarios. You are required between now and April 1st to complete those scenarios. There's instructions to let your territory manager know when you have completed. Once you complete the activities, then someone will review it in Sales Pilot and make sure that you were able to successfully complete those. While you are practicing, we have a chatter group that is set up for Sales Pilot support during this kind of test process. I will register each of you as a user in that group, and I will send you an email with instructions on what the group name is. So those 4 emails will be coming shortly, like this morning. Then, so while you are practicing, so practice, because come April 1st, all of your sales activity will need to be executed in Sales Pilot. So if you have proposals that are outstanding and are not going to close before April 1st, you're going to have to redo them in Sales Pilot. So you might even want to use some of those in the practice, just so come April 1st, you'll be a whiz at it. And I think you saw from Lauren, it's pretty user-friendly, and once you go through it a couple of times, I know you're going to all be super proficient. Additionally, next week you'll receive an invite to a follow-up webinar. So we'll have multiple sessions. Every session will have the same objective and content. It's really intended to take any of the questions that were frequently asked in the chatter sessions to make sure that everybody has a clear understanding of the process that you should be following. So this follow-up webinar, which will happen, there will be several sessions the week of March 30th, is really your chance to sort of wrap everything up and put a big bow on it. So look for those. They'll be distributed next week. And then starting on Monday, you'll be receiving periodic emails from me with details like the credit policy. Even though Sales Pilot will execute and tell you when you have to run credit, we want to give you the details kind of behind it. So you'll get a series of emails from me, so be on the lookout for those and don't delete them. So if you have set an auto rule to delete anything sent from Tracy Kress, you might want to change that so that you don't miss anything. One of the emails that you will be getting includes the modified process around the CEC for those orders that you'll be using the CEC between now and July for existing ADT customers. So those will all be coming. So be on the lookout for emails from me. So last chance, any questions? Nothing? Awesome. All right. Well, this
Been
is
pretty
record
clear.
time. Oh, perfect. Well, glad to hear that. So, again, look for user's guide, login, some certification scenarios, and chatter. Use the chatter group. Remember that there's nothing better than community when you're trying to learn something new. So check the chatter feed every now and then. Don't use it not just to ask questions, but if you uncover something that you think is like super cool, then make sure that you share it with your coworkers. So use it to its full capabilities. So any other questions before we wrap this up? Okay, so thank each of you for attending this morning. I'm hoping that you all learned a ton. And again, special thanks to Lauren for spending more of her day with us and making sure that we all had visibility and will soon become experts in Sales Pilot. So thanks, everybody, and have a great rest of the day.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Bye.